Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and you lose it?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy. Darling. Light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
God, why are you screaming so much?
I don't know.
Just in terror? Just...
I'm always screaming. No, we're just loud, boisterous, talking about.
God, you're so
talking
loud.
about le cinema. I don't know.
I know.
Talk.
My wife always tells me I'm so loud. I'm becoming an old man. I'm always shouting. I'm like, what?
Well, dude. I mean, not only just hearing from concerts and just getting
general
just older,
ear damage.
Just natural ear damage from the buses whooshing by, and the amount of headphone music I listen to that blasts in there.
That's the one, yeah.
But no, I can't remember what I was going to say, and then you lose brain.
This
you
is
lose brain.
your brain losage.
Yeah.
This is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast. Where the two of us together, that's Jordan, I'm Levi, the two of us together have a whole brain nearly.
Make up one, maybe make up one whole
one
brain.
Maybe. So it is the ending of September. If you're listening to this in the future, who knows when it is, but this
I know,
is.
it's whatever time you want it to be,
yeah.
But for us right now,
us,
experiencing it.
It's the end of September, which has been medieval month. We watched some pretty good ones. I don't even remember all of them.
It was a solid slew, dude. We watched Shreks.
Oh yeah, Shrek.
We watched Call Me by Your Name.
No, yeah.
We watched. What else did we watch?
Valhalla Rising.
Valhalla Rising.
Then Name of the Rose.
The Name of the
And
Rose.
then this week we watched the other. I'm weird because we didn't get any of the like big epic like medieval battle ones.
Braveheart or something that
None of those won. It was always kind of the off kilter one. So this week it was the classic comedy Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
An appropriate way to finish. I feel like it's just like it's a simple, sweet,
and it's
easy,
iconic,
easy to digest.
Yeah,
and it's iconic, and it's so like, it's like so funny because it is medieval, of course. But it's like it's contemporary jokes. It's like it's not, it's like they use medieval as the backdrop, but they're just telling, like their own personal story jokes. And
that's
stuff.
the whole
So
thing about this, so.
Right.
But
like, it's kind of different. It's different from all the other movies. I guess like Shrek kind of keeps it contemporary too.
Yeah. But, bear with us. Since it is the end of October or the end of September, my brain has already switched over to spooky mode. So
this
it's
happens
like,
every year, yeah.
I know. So I watched this, but I've already been watching horror movies. So it's like I got to get back in there, like come back to Monty Python. I watched it the other day, and man, this movie's still pretty funny. I'm glad because I was like a little bit worried. I really haven't seen it front to back. I've seen scenes from it over the years, but I'm realizing watching it the other day, I haven't seen it front to back since I was like 13.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
And it was hilarious back then.
Zach Wright and I would sit in my like basement and watch this on VHS, and like it's so weird to not. It's like it's such a for a movie I've seen probably like at least 10 times. It is. I don't remember much of it, and so watching it this time, I actually like was like, oh wow, I'm like, and I try to watch these a little more like analytical and try to focus on them a little bit more for the pod.
Right.
And so I was like, I was picking up on things that I've never noticed.
Me too.
And I was thoroughly impressed. So.
Oh yeah, there's some good bits.
Yeah.
But anyway.
What's your synopsis? You get one this month?
I absolutely did not write a synopsis.
Yeah.
But you don't need one, so I'll lay it on you. So this is a fairly loose sketch comedy, but it follows loosely the bones of it follows King Arthur of Camelot on his quest to find knights to then find the Holy Grail. And it's literally
he was given the task by God.
Yeah, God comes and gives them the task, and they go and
what
they
a
kind
noble
of
task it is.
They split up. It's like a series of vignettes, and they kind of are trying to search for the Grail, but they keep running into shenanigans. But that's their quest. They're on a quest. They run in all these wacky characters, and then many of them die by the end, and then it ends with them preparing for a massive battle to lay siege to this French castle that may have info about the Grail, but more likely they just insulted and threw shit at them. And so they go to lay siege, and then the movie breaks the fourth wall one of many times it does so, and they get arrested, the set gets shut down, the camera gets knocked over and everything.
Right.
And it ends that way, so they never even get the Grail.
It's a actual cop out.
That's all you need. That's all you need to know.
Is a cop out.
I don't know. See, I always remembered it as that, but I forgot how much setup there was for them. Like they killed the guy.
They kill the like documentarian.
Yeah.
And then I never ever once noticed how often they're like the cops are in the background doing an investigation.
Yeah, they're investigating. They're like,
trying to find the group that killed them. And it's such a like throwaway joke too, that like they ride by and he like cuts his throat and kills him. It like, I don't quite understand why they kill him, but then it's like, it doesn't really matter because it's just absurd. This whole movie is just, it's kind of like, to set it up and then just like totally completely change it. Like,
well, it makes sense.
It's that formula for a joke.
Oh, 100%. It makes sense with their like, that's why I didn't bother so much with the synopsis, is because it's like, since this is a sketch comedy group, it's not like something, for example, last month we watched Young Frankenstein, which is a satire or even a spoof, if, some people don't like that word. And I would say this is in the same camp, but not quite, because like, Young Frankenstein is very much written. It's jokes. It's like playing him to a very specific part. This movie is more, it feels more improvisational, but all the writing still is like definitely, it's like this group effort, and it's mostly to tell jokes and have bits within a setting. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's always, and this is an SNL skit that's just woven together and actually makes a really like fun story. I don't, it's like, that's where it is. It's like, I wouldn't call this like a strong narrative, but it keeps everything together better than I remember.
It's loose enough
when I was younger,
that like they're always driven by their quest for the Grail.
Right.
That it's just like, that's so easy to implant into any scene. And that's it. You know what I mean? It's like every character is playing their character, cool, and they're like, the Grail, we seek the Grail.
But they keep so like it does help. It is like, if you watched, if they release this, you could theoretically release all of these skits kind of out of order, and it would still kind of, loosely be a show almost.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I haven't watched it front to back, but I've seen some of these skits over the years. You know what I mean? And I always remember like, Lancelot running up to the castle, and it's like the huge white shot.
Dude, that is one of the funniest bits of any show ever.
So good.
Like him just running, and like it's the ineptitude of the guards too that are just so. It's that There's like this. The show is built on that, like the like expectations, and then it completely changes
That's great comedy, I think, man.
It works really well, and they're fine-tuned at this point. Like, this is their second feature, and then they've been, for like a decade, they've been working on, the like whatever. It's Flying Circus, and then they did other, I don't know, man. There's people out there, there's like historians that have like gone through and taken like the Flying Circus and then have followed like, freaking Graham Chapman and
I
John
guess we
Cleese
should
Terry Gilliam.
Preface that like we're not the hugest Monty Python as a sketch group, like their whole I'm only like passingly only through their movies mostly, and then obviously like Terry Gilliam and stuff later.
That's where it's like I always love it, because Terry Gilliam he's like the oddball out of the like the core 4 or 5 guys. He's always the one that's
the
like
edgy one.
He wants to make because he's like it can be absurd, but I want like a strong narrative. Well, and so he was always like, so it kind of worked perfect, because like he would, so like Terry Gilliam was like complete strong narrative. He wanted like, he wanted it to be more serious. And then Terry Jones, he was like they were co-directors. And he was like, well, no, we've got the jokes are all that matter. That's what we're here for, to do the jokes.
Well-
And I think that they butt heads during production, but
Yeah, I can see that.
together they compromised, and I think that it.
Well, there's
kind of
so
best
many.
both worlds.
There's so many. If I went through and counted how many jokes per minute, like there's so many, and most of them land pretty good. And I did not notice a lot of them.
Oh crap! I don't even remember. This has something like every 10 seconds there's a joke. Like it's one of those. It's got the most jokes per second of any movie ever made. There's like 572 jokes in this that are written, and that's like
Well,
yeah.
you know what I was kind of surprised about is how well this movie looked sometimes. Like,
oh dude, I thought this was like this could have been 92, and I would have thought it was just kind of like low budget 92.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
some of the
it was
landscapes and externals that could have been taken from Name of the Rose. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like some of the grainy film look, but it's just like some of those compositions and shots. Like I don't know, maybe I just like old timey castles and shit. But they look pretty good, and like they're pretty. Even the dumbest shit. Like I was trying to find a good screen grab to do the thumbnail for the YouTube video for this. Right? Hello, if anyone's watching on YouTube. And I was like scrolling through, and I'm like, man, there's some good shots, and even the shots of like that's so silly. It's the the knights that say knee, but. There's the shot of them standing there, and I'm like, yeah, this is really well composed. And it's like, even though he's like this big lurking thing that's like supposed to be intimidating, but it's like his own intimidation is like he just says, "Nyeh,"
Well, I think I know. Yeah, those guys are. No, I mean, I love
stupid.
that.
That's like the dumbest bit, but it's
great.
so good. I don't know.
But it's the sincerity. We've said that before on this podcast a million times. It's like it's the sincerity of it. And I think it functions so well because how they craft their joke is like let's take it in all seriousness, but then it's like they'll be like, all right, this is like a true to form confrontation that's happening, but they'll make it as silly as possible. I mean, that was like their whole
oh yeah, everything's
all of Flying Circus is like it's just like it's kind of like to exaggerate a simple joke. They take it kind of too far and they exaggerate it, but it works.
They
it
take
works
it right
really well.
to the edge most times.
And I noticed a lot this movie. I'm sure Matt Stone and Trey Parker have admitted that this movie, that these guys, this troupe was influential for their comedy.
Gotta be.
But there's so much South Park in this that's like wild.
Oh yeah, gotta be right.
I really was like, oh wow, I'm surprised to really.
That's a good point.
Delve deep into this, and it's like. It's cool. I mean, rightfully so. There's some silliness, but I think that you watching this movie, it's like clearly, it's so weird though because even now, I've just watched this like a day ago. I'm still like thinking it's just kind of silly, and I don't know. It's weird. It doesn't stay with me. This isn't like held in a high regard to me as a movie.
Yeah,
but every time I watch it, I'm like, I'm thoroughly entertained, and I'm pleasantly surprised, and.
Yeah, the last year or two, I've definitely been like, what comedy movies? Like, because I keep thinking like we should do like a comedy month or a comedy poll, and I'm like, and then I start thinking, I'm like, man, there's like not that many. Like we've watched all the good comedies, and I'm like, well, because the best comedy is Doctor Strangelove, but and I'm like, but I'm realizing I really do like kind of absurdist comedy. So a lot of this really worked for me on like a rewatch since it's been so long because it wasn't as like silly, but it's interesting because it's like ever since becoming a dad, I do kind of see some movies through a different lens now, and I was like, oh, this is like a PG. Like I watched the first half of this with my daughter, just hanging out, and she was having kind of fun watching it. She's like, he's so silly, haha, and all this, and I'm like, this is like because at the end of the day, it's like it's got a lot of like mature jokes like good comedy does, but it's like it's sort of a younger. I don't know. It's silly, so it's kind of good for all ages. Right. It's nice to have something whimsical that's not like so clever or something like this.
Well, it's not like a Deadpool movie where it's like I think Deadpool's funny, but he's like satirical and like vulgar and that
it's not like super vulgar. It's not like a Judd Apatow.
It's accessible.
It's not a kids. Not specifically. It's not Shrek. You know what I mean? But it definitely. It's weird that we watched like two medieval comedies. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
just because it's like those are not ones you see put together, but apparently that's the case. But I don't know, man. Like this tickled my funny bone more this time, and it wasn't even that it was like so funny, but I was just like, I don't know. It was the perfect like just let my brain go kind of movie that I was needing, kind of. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, I feel like this is the Victoria was telling me because I was like, hey, do you want to watch this movie with me? And she's like, no. She's like, I know it. And I was like, well, have you seen it? And she's like, no, I just know it enough that I've seen it. I was like, that's fair enough. I understand that. It is super popular. But then she's like, it's all the Mormon kids that she knew in Utah that were like, this is the greatest. Like, they would always watch it. Like, their family could get together and watch this movie.
that makes
And
sense.
So
It tracks.
Like, it like cracked me up because I was like, that's exactly because I was like, why do I like this so much? And then I'm like, oh, my like extended Mormon family was like always kind of like into this. It like was because it's weird. It's like it's clean, and then there's some like it's goofy and it's silly. And if there is anything like sexual, like basically the sexual castle is sexual, but it's like it's pretty nuanced. I mean, it's heavy-handed, but it's like
But
not
it's all in the
vulgar.
dialogue and everything.
I mean,
Yeah, it's not vulgar.
Spanking's kind of like
They say
spanking's
oral
silly.
sex,
It's
which
a
is
silly kink, right? Saying oral sex is like that's the pinnacle. That's the
Yeah.
highest they get in vulgarity.
It's not like
in
we're
that
gonna
scene.
gobble his dick, you know what I mean, or whatever.
No, right, and like no one, like there's no nudity. Period. I mean, there's some nip slip, I guess, type of deal.
There's
when-
quite a lot of violence. I honestly think that it's like it is just enough for like these like Mormon like groups because it's PG technically. It would probably be PG-13 these days, but
I
this
don't
obviously
know. I mean,
it's violent enough. It probably would be. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I
I guess
think
that
it would.
PG. I guess PG's hard. There is no
Yeah.
between anymore now. So just
No.
PG-13.
I think it would.
You're right.
I think it would just strictly on the violence.
Right.
Just because it's like, even though it's played really silly, there's still quite a lot of it. It's like a guy gets a dismembered torso, and there's some pearl clutching mom out there that's just like, oh, he's the
but
he's the
it's
Black
just so-
Knight.
It's so silly though. Like that, I get it. No, I clearly. I mean, there's always somebody out there who's gonna get offended by like a fucking VeggieTales or something. But it's like this is so. It's so ridiculous. Like when his arm gets cut off, it's like so fake and like so and it's like a bit of fun. Like it's like it's not like
I had forgotten.
that
I was howling in laughter actually because I had forgotten.
Oh, dude.
The other violent scene when Sir Lancelot, I think, runs up to the castle and like stabs those two guards. But then I always remembered that bit. But the bit of him going around killing everyone at the wedding.
Everybody at the wedding. I forgot how many. He just killed people. People are like jumping around in merriment. And he's just.
It's like the whole band. Every guard.
It's a wide shot. He just hits every person walking by with
the king's sword. Like, you kicked the bride in the chest. Like,
yeah, right. Like, it's one of those like, it's silly because that's what it is. They take like something that would be like valiant and like. That like, and it's just a misunderstanding, and they just go overboard, and it's amazing.
And that's like the spoof of like kind of like what knights
what
would
you
be.
expect. Right. Oh, right. Yeah. That's what'd you do, bud?
Nah, something keeps connecting from my computer. I hear it beeping. Anyway.
Oh,
it's driving me, and I'm like, I don't know what it is.
Is it a bomb?
Yeah.
But no, I think that you were right. Where it's totally. It is kind of like it's like fan service where it's like, oh, you want some violence, here's a violent scene, and like the rabbit is funny with the violence, but it's great because like I think that they cut their teeth on low budget just TV productions, and so like they came into this movie with dirt cheap but nothing, like literally they made this for no money, and if it was a different premise it would really show. But the fact that like 90% of this movie takes place outside in just some undescript wooded area. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it, and their costumes are cheap. You can tell they're very cheap. And I think this is the like what are the golden ratio, the perfect mix of low budget bruise what is that, ingenuity or
Yeah,
just,
it's like it
they're
forces
just
you
so-
to have to think outside the box.
They have to get
It's
they
the
have to get
horses,
so creative.
right?
At the horses,
Yeah.
that like that right there is like that's where like I watched this movie appreciating those factors more
Yeah.
now. Like
Oh, yeah.
like clicking of the the coconuts. That's funny when I was a kid, and I appreciate it. But like watching it now, I'm like oh, that's like it's very clever.
It's clever that they had to do that
I'm impressed.
workaround that ended up being a pretty funny bit throughout
Good
running
bit, yeah.
gag that
Right.
was definitely derived from a budgetary constraint. Like,
Yeah.
there's one horse in
that's-
the whole movie.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
yeah, right. And yeah, wait. Is there a real horse in
There's
the movie?
one horse the one time when he runs across and slashes the documentarian's
Oh,
throat. It's
yeah,
the
right,
only,
right.
only shot there's a horse.
Yeah. Oh, that's so weird. I didn't even think of that. I just expected him to be like floating or something.
threw-
I don't know. I don't
Right.
remember.
And it threw me off because even like the coconut bits, and then like they're always doing it. They always have their squire going around with the coconuts, and it's perfect because every time they stop, it's like, you know. And
Yeah, they do. Yeah. It punctuates it well.
but
yeah.
even and then they worked the fact that there's coconuts because the first one good joke that got me so good,
Right.
is like there's the whole conversation at the beginning where he's talking about the coconuts.
So you do the callback. They
callback
are
is
fucking
on
smart,
it.
dude.
I
They're
did not
fucking
remember
smart.
that. Yeah.
No, me either. And is that what you were?
Well, there's a
getting
lot
at?
of them, but there's like the Bridge of Death callback, right? When he's like, "Wait, is it a European or an African
Oh, yeah.
swallow?"
That's amazing. No, I'm
but
thinking
in the next
the
scene-
visual,
Yeah.
the visual callback when he's
tying
got
the
a
coconut to the
bird
bird.
on it. Yeah. He's trying to see if it goes.
I never noticed that ever
Dude,
before,
me either.
and this
Yeah.
time I saw it because it's just like it cuts, and he's just letting him go.
Fastest, and he's like,
And
you
they
couldn't
never
even,
bring
you
it
blink
up.
and you missed it. Yeah, right. But he's a
Slayed
scientist, so
me.
it's like,
Oh, yeah.
no, but no, dude. The scene that got me that I never truly comprehended is when he first comes up to that castle and they're in the muck and they're like, yeah, remember when he says like, here's a good bit of filth or whatever. They come over and they're just piling filth. But then he goes on the diatribe of like a king and how like he's like you're a
He's
ruler.
like we're
and
an anarcho like something society, you know?
Yeah, like we all like it's like every week we come together as a tribunal and we all vote and like we pick one person for the week and they make a decision, but then it has to go to like a whole bunch of people who can like work on that decision. And, like it's just how he breaks down like
So
their
good.
communal society.
Arthur's like all noble and like oh yes, I had the Excalibur and I was given worthy to be their king, and he's like, that's no way to run a government. Like
Yeah, right. Because someone threw a sword at you. Like, it's like, yeah, I was like, that's such a good. And it's like it's funny because it's like they hide it's witty. I guess is really like they make a commentary.
This
and
movie's all jokes and bits, and we'll get we'll see what else we got. I don't know. This is I got horror movie brain already, so this is gonna be a lighter episode. But
I think this is one of those movies that if you've never seen this movie or never heard of it,
just watch.
that's kind of odd to me. It's it's such an easy film to watch.
It's an
and you
easy-
will get something out of it. Like I don't know. It's kind
I
of
know.
like
I didn't even ask my
end of
wife if she
pod
wanted to
with
watch
roll
it.
credits.
She hates
Roll
quote
credits.
unquote dumb humor, and
But
it's not really that dumb. But anything that's just like she's like,
it's absurd.
It is, yeah. She don't like absurd humor, and I'm like, I do like it because even when it works like technically like really well, I'm like, oh, that was a really good setup and punchline and blah 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 and a good callback and roundabout. But if it's just wacky and it doesn't exist in like this literal, I don't know. She's just got I'm left brain, or whatever. She's the opposite. But what scene fucking slayed me this time around that I did not remember the first time or any of the other times I saw this. But this movie's all jokes and stuff, so I'm like, may as well get to our favorite, our favorite scenes, right?
Yeah, right.
So
that's all this is. It's like I don't know. I can give you a couple. I got a couple of history. I got a couple facts, but it's like this. There are people who've like, you can get like a dissertation in this movie. So it's like I don't know. There's people who've done this, who've gone really fucking deep into this film. So
well, and it's just like
we're just here to talk about our yachts, man.
Silly young British guys making it's a comedy. It's a good comedy. You know what I mean? It's funny. But the part that slayed me is when they're talking to the old man with the fire lit before they meet him at the bridge, and he's like, tell me, old man. And he's just like, and he's just laughing. And he's like, you will cross the bridge of death. And then he's like, and that leads to the Grail. And he's like, there you will find a man that knows. And he's like, so he knows about the Grail. And he's just like, and then he just disappears. And then they're just in the woods. Like, he's just laughing. And he's like, the whole time Arthur's like, so, and then that goes to the Grail. And honestly, like, that's so silly and stupid. And then they're just like in the woods because it's just like, why not? But even before that, the narrator's like, this next scene 24, has got some pretty good acting, you know, and it's better than the last scene. Yeah. And, but even then it's like, not only does all that dialogue come back later, but it goes to show that it's like Arthur's the quote unquote main character is just so driven for the quest. Like, it's so simple, but it's like that informs his motivation the entire time, that he's so dedicated to whatever his character motivation is. So it's like, it's got this stupid, hilarious, absurd joke with this like cackling old man. It's got the main character that's trying to actually move the plot forward. And then that all comes back later when he's like the chasm of like infinite doom or whatever the fuck it's called after they meet Tim the Enchanter.
Tim the Enchanter. And if you're a Patreon out there, if you're a Patreon supporter,
yes,
we respect you and love you, and you can go on and you can get the Tim tier.
Yeah, if your name's Tim, come be a Patreon supporter anyway. But if your name is Tim, there's a discount. And I don't remember what episode we came up with that, but we just decided Tim's needed a break, you know?
Yeah.
We got it. I don't know. I know a couple Tims and they're all right, you know, so they need a break.
Yeah, you know, a little discount. You get $1 off on our special account.
So not necessarily what was your favorite bit, but what was a bit that stood out to you on this rewatch that you didn't really remember that kind of caught you off guard from like years past?
That swallow bit is funny.
Yeah.
Where he's tying it up. But a bit that I didn't quite fully conceptualize and now love is one of my favorite bits, is when he's in the, what is it, Castle Anthrax, or what's the castle with all the women?
Yeah, Castle Anthrax, that's right.
I think it is, right? Because it's like,
she's like, that's a terrible name for a castle.
That's a terrible, but then that's also another layer that I didn't notice, is everybody has really bad names. Like all the names are bad and they're just like for no reason. Yeah. But anyways, something that I noticed is like, I don't remember how it gets there, but they're like, get on with it already, and then it cuts to like everybody, like all these characters, scenes, all these random scenes that are like, hurry up, get on with it. Like they want like the whole plot to move forward, and I thought like, fuck, that's a layer of meta that didn't.
It was kind of ahead of its time, because it's like, now it's not a Rick and Morty episode. This was made 50 years ago.
Right, and this was, but I think that this came out, I believe, the same year as Blazing Saddles, right?
Yeah,
or at least,
75.
I mean, Blazing Saddles like in this, because I think this technically was 74 is when it released, but then it got a wide release in 75. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But this was made in the same. I mean, you know, Blazing Saddles is early 70s.
Mid 70s, man. They had like a bump there for sure. Because remember, that was the same year as fucking Young Frankenstein.
I know. Well, we were blown away when we found out that Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles came out the same year, and Young Frankenstein does not feel as sophisticated as Blazing Saddles. No. Anyways, I think that this movie, Holy Grail.
Go listen to that episode.
It's really sophisticated. Yeah. Go listen to
I agree. Like this movie, But
this has a level of sophistication where even Blazing Saddles, they're satirical, and they nudge you, and they wink at the fourth wall, and like they break the fourth wall, and they like it's cool. But I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like it's rooted in its time period when you watch it, and this movie feels more timeless. And I think probably because it's not what it's critiquing isn't necessarily like Hollywood itself. It's not like fixated on being a larger subject than just like the quest, and then it's just absurd.
Yeah, it's not like so satirical to be taking like a quote unquote modern day for the time subject and like turning it on its head. It's more just like human nature, and that's like what makes it. I don't know, because it's like all the shit is just like I don't know, everything that it's like it takes and like it does clever with is just, it seems like very human, timeless type jokes, like the things about peasants and like his, like, you know, that guy with his the classism and everything like that. Like, that's timeless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
that's not 70s. That could be that
making
conversation. I know that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. They're like in that conversation, and I feel like it's so like casually snuck in too that like I like nobody takes away as this movie being like social justice or like you're like forward thinking necessarily, but it actually, like, I'm like, oh, that's a pretty fun take in this movie that, like, I'm like kind of stands up to scrutiny today, and like I was just like that's cool.
It's a good point, because
like that, but
unlike and we enjoy Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, but unlike those movies, they don't feel dated in the same way. Not even just like for what is content, but there's nothing that's just like, oh, yikes, that was fun to joke about then, but it's not fun to joke about now. Like, there's nothing that's like, I don't know. Like when you said like social justice-y, like this didn't feel like there was nothing that was like offensive in the way that like you would see now. Like, oh, people get really worked up about that, other than like maybe some of the innuendos and some of the violence, but that is as old as art. You know what I mean? People have been getting butthurt about sex and violence as long as we've been making art about it.
Sure, yeah, and that's kind of where that's where I'm getting at.
But it's like there's no like weird like racy. I guess he makes one gay joke. I guess you know what I mean in it. That he's just like, I bet you're gay, you know, or whatever. But
the whole like the whole king, that whole prince that's gay or whatever, you know, gay coded and like the feminine is like that's like the most offensive joke, I guess, throughout the whole thing. But even how it's like it's more played like it just he wants to sing, and it's like the dad's not proud of him, and it's like I don't know. I mean, it does like that would be like a joke you can't. But that's one of my favorite.
When he just guards. That one goes on too long, but it's like it's perfect because I don't know. I appreciate it.
Well, watching it this time, I was like, oh, the dad's quote unquote supportive. It's more he just like doesn't want the silliness of singing. Like it's not even that like
he's kingly,
you know. Singing. Yeah, he doesn't like hate singing because he thinks. Yeah, like I don't know. It seems less cruel, like where MASH would like, you know, that movie.
Good point.
MASH would just be punching down on these people.
Yeah.
And it's like, so watching this where it's like he just doesn't want him to sing because there's more things to do. It's more important to get the wedding going.
Oh yeah, this is the fourth castle. All the other castles have sunk in the swamp, and he's like, I just want you to spread out and inherit this lady's land. Like she's got a huge. Tracts of land, you know,
huge tracts of land. I know, right? Yeah.
And so, but it's
how
like,
do you feel like it'd be weird? I mean, I would take any role that came my way, but do you think it'd be bummer if you like came in and they're like, all right, we need a part for the homely woman. The like, so we need like you get that one where it's like, or you walk into the casting room and they're like, we need a schlub. We need a real just like kind of just like a dirt
I'll be your schlub.
And yeah, you show up to casting and they're like, you're perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna get schlub tattooed on my knuckles. You know? Like,
yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, I'm number one schlub.
Yeah, but we're schlub and proud. But yeah, you know, it's
we're
gross, disgusting men. You know, too.
Yeah, right. I think there's like a pride that comes with that. But anyways, fucking society.
Man, you know, this movie really just holds a mirror to society.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
I think there's a funny bit where that really tall three-headed knight. I like that it's like a sight gag where there's like a big javelin that's got three guys killed and pinned to the tree. I was like, yeah, that's sick.
The whole song.
That's a good tattoo.
Oh right, yeah. The whole song about Sir Robin. When they're like singing like Sir Robin, like he's so brave and like and then like he's gonna get he's not scared to get killed, and it's like all the brutal deaths. He's like, okay, that's enough, and then he runs away. And they're like, he's brave, he runs away. He's so brave. And he's like, all right, guys, enough of the singing.
He's so brave, he turns his tail. Like that. Yeah. No, that's good. It's like and you could tell like I mean they're as much as they butted heads, they've been doing this for so long. That is something that really bleeds out onto the film is like they're friends first, and so it's like really fun for them
Yeah,
to get together.
They
and
all
do
got a
these
good
bits.
chemistry.
It's all bits, and the best thing is, all of them acted in the parts that they wrote. So that was their like they would
really?
they would
That's
write
right.
sketches, and then the person that wrote the sketch would be like, well, okay, I'll just be in it. It'll be me. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of what they think like this is how they want it done. So then they'd get together and be like, all right, you do it then.
That makes more sense because earlier I said that this was improvisational, and I didn't really exactly mean that so much as like the writing of the script, because everything feels like it was made with forethought. Like it feels written, and like the jokes make sense. It's not like improv on the spot, which I'm sure there's a fair amount of, but it does feel like a script that was written by like a bunch of people and was a fun thing and was kind of like this crazy, like going in all over the place, kind of loosey-goose project that makes it feel kind of like this improvisational troupe vibe, but that's kind of like how it was written. It makes sense. It's like what you're saying.
I mean,
whereas
kind
like
of that-
Mel Brooks is like,
yeah.
it's a very singular, one man wrote it and you can kind of tell.
Right. He writes 200 pages, and that's the script, and then
Yeah.
it gets shot. But this was definitely that, like, they would just like write the night. They like came together and they're like, here's the outline, and now this will be this character's bit, and let's do it. And like there's some other like
Got drink every time we say
forgotten,
bit.
unshot. I know, yeah. Well, this is a bit movie, man. It's like the most bit movie I've ever seen. But
Yeah, honestly.
it like there were so many scenes that they wanted to do, but because of monetary restrictions, they didn't get to do them. But I'm sad because they had like a bunch of different bits that were like men at the gate, men at the crossing of the bridge, where they had to do the riddle, answer these questions 3. That kind of thing, and they were like, it was gonna get up to like answer these questions 52 or whatever, like they're all the rhymes, like, it was like, yeah, it was pretty funny. There was like one that's like, to ride this boat fair, you have to answer these like questions, like 20 stare or something. They like made up their own number and stuff. It was super silly and like super fun. I don't know. I'm like,
I like
it's
that.
so funny because I'm a fan of this movie.
They put that first, though. You know what I mean? And that's like,
right.
It's like they put like, is it fun? Is it funny? Is it whimsical? Like they put that kind of before anything else, and it shows because watching this, like it's like you said, it's such an easy watch. Like it's fun. I started this when I was watching it with my my daughter, my 3.5-year-old, and she was thinking it was kind of. She was like, "Why is he doing that? What's he doing?" And I'm like, "He's on the quest for the Grail." God, you don't get it, but
you'll get it soon enough.
She gets it, but it's like that's the thing. It's like it's funny, it's clever when it wants to be, and it's just like, but it's just light. I don't know. It feels good, and I think that's why it's endured so long, is because it's just like you're left being like, that was a good time. You know what I mean? Like that was I'm not gonna write a dissertation or be like, oh man, that was the funniest, but it's just like, yeah, you're walking away and it's a lot of fun. But you know what
I had a good time.
You know what else I don't remember at all?
Oh, what's that?
And it's not even like jokes. Some of them were pretty good, but I don't remember there being any animation in this, like at all.
Are you serious? That was like
I don't remember it at all.
Well, it was because Terry Gilliam did it.
That makes sense.
And so I went from this movie was like the catalyst to get into like I watched Brazil and Time Bandits.
Yeah, that's kind of why I
you
came
know.
back on this. Is I
And,
watched this after I'd seen like Brazil first, probably, and 12 Monkeys, probably.
Okay, yeah.
But so it was kind of weird coming back to this because it definitely this seems like more of a group effort where like a lot of those other Terry Gilliams are very much like his more auteur,
it's
his auteur type, status vision.
Right. And like
but
and
the
thank God,
animation
it was
makes
great.
sense. Yeah, Terry Gilliam.
But
rules.
the animation's amazing because
I like it.
it actually I was like, oh, this is like fun and fanciful, and it actually works for like they wanted to they don't have like animation and they don't have puppetry. They didn't have the budget to make a beast, this giant like multi-eyed crazy dragon looking beast thing. So like they made it all anime, and then kind of like it's kind of goofy and fun, and it works for the plot. Like I thought
and
when
they
I was younger,
knew-
I remember it being separate. Like I felt like it was kind of an odd like just kind of break from because the
some of the
cloud
in-between scenes
jumping-
are kind of like that.
Right.
Yeah, they feel like interludes
right.
almost, you know, but
Yeah, exactly.
but I like
kinda break
that
up
joke's kind of
scenes,
funny though, because he's like, weather, and it's just
Weather.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. Right. Classic. We've been complaining about weather forever, but yeah, they add like to the narrative, to the plot, so it's kind of like fun. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
And they even turn it in. They know it's kind of awkward and it doesn't really fit in the movie, and they make that a joke. That's the thing. They make everything into a joke. They're like, we got to do this thing, and how can we get a laugh out of it? And then it's just like, yeah. And then halfway through, the animator had a heart attack, and so that's how they write themselves out of it. It's just like, there it is. And instead of doing this big epic fight at the end with all these extras and everything, they're like, "No, we're gonna end it," which what I used to think was a pretty just like, oh, it's like just like this ending. But
I thought it was
it's
so
really
absurd.
built into like.
But it is the whole movie, dude. It's
Yeah.
from when he gets his throat cut, which is like 20 minutes or maybe 30 minutes into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like then the rest of the movie is part of they're building that investigation and coming through, and it's like, oh wow, that's like really, it's really funny, and it adds like a fifth dimension to it when like the cop interacts with the camera and then it just cuts. Like it almost like it doesn't feel documentary style
It's like
one bit.
like the end of the Blair Witch.
Until the direct, yeah, right. Like until the direct end where you're like, oh, what? It's like breaking that fourth wall again. It's fun. Did we? I don't think we
Travis-
got a single comment.
We didn't get any Reddit.
No,
comments.
nobody out there. Why'd you all vote for this movie, guys?
This happens every time.
Yeah,
And
we
we
love you.
say
We love
we
you
say
guys.
that as if the people who actually are 40 minutes into this episode of the podcast aren't the ones that like vote. Like they vote and
I know,
do
yeah,
it.
you.
They vote and comment.
Yeah,
well,
no,
not-
you're
not
like a sleeper
necessarily.
cell. I'll say the magic word, teacup, and then they're
Teacup.
they're
Yeah,
gonna
come
be-
comment.
Right,
Well, more people listen
please.
to the podcast than actually participate on the Reddit and everything. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I just like listening, I want to be passive, like just come pop us your fucking thoughts on a movie. I
Do you know
want to
what'd be
hear 'em.
dope? You can come to r/coldest of knowledge and leave us a little Reddit comment, and we'd love to hear from you there. Or if you feel like getting a little cell phone out and boop-bopping some numbers,
I was wondering.
I'm gonna give out the phone number because remember like last episode or the episode before, I wanted to get back to form.
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of impossible. We're all over the place now. But anyways, I wanted to mention the phone number because I keep forgetting to. I need to start mentioning it at the top of the show. But if you would like to dial 801-613-1501. You can give us a little voice message. It just goes straight to a Google voicemail, so you don't have to worry
should,
about us answering or anything weird. But leave us a little, let us know. We've
Come
gotten
across.
some weird messages before.
Oh yeah, we have gotten some weird ones.
But
I
we
like
get
it.
We get a consistent caller, and his name is Travis.
He didn't call today
So-
though. He didn't call on this one.
did.
though.
He did.
Oh, he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, he did call. So
I thought we were
we'll-
gonna
we'll-
have no votes, no calls. All right, I'm gonna pull up
Yeah.
his voicemail then,
Yeah,
and you
I wanna-
give me
I'm
a
gonna
money
give
minute
you-
because I know obviously
you-
the budget.
we're
talked
talking about
about
budget. Before that, though, one of my fun facts, if you made it all the way here, is this blew my mind. I had no idea. So, how much do you think, the European swallow, but that version, like a barn swallow, like how much do you think one of those weighs? They say a 5-ounce swallow couldn't carry a 1-pound coconut. How much do you think one of those birds weighs in real life?
I don't know. I'm not really versed with swallows, but just looking at, I don't know. Birds are lighter than they look. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
I don't know. I guess maybe a little less than 5 ounces, probably.
Dude, we're talking like 80% less than 5 ounces. They're not
Really?
even a full ounce.
Are you kidding
Like
me?
some
It's
swallows
weird.
get to
God,
full ounce. How do
birds
they,
are-
I thought they don't have an ounce of liquid in their body. Like birds, what's inside of a bird? It's like
They're
light
not. They're
bones
not
and
real.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're not really. They're government issued.
That's
but
what's crazy.
Whatever
An ounce-
motor oils and an ounce of liquid
Is
is
nothing.
I can drink an ounce of liquid through my nose. Like, at a bird, a little big swallow is less than an ounce. They weigh less than an ounce.
You know
so
what,
they
Jordan?
can't carry a 1 pound coconut. That's the
Well,
learned.
I mean, if there's two of them and there's a line
No.
between them, distribute.
I know. Yeah.
But if it was an African swallow, anyway, you know
Right,
what, Jordan? That is the fun fact that I come to the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast for.
Right.
So I really
You're not
appreciate
gonna,
that.
you're not going to get that anywhere else.
You're not going to
Some
get that
scientist had to say that on a blog.
anywhere else. That is the fresh guarantee, folks, of the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast. Swallow facts every episode
Yeah.
from now on. Jordan's on it.
So yeah, dude. Everyone now I got to commit to a swallow bit. But
Yeah, every episode.
know what I can swallow is these low prices.
Oh,
This movie cost. It's a little lost to history, but it's probably $300,000 to maybe $400,000 to make, which is it's dirt ass cheap, dude. Like we're looking at $400,000, like half a mil, less than half a mil,
especially when you think back then. What
The film
half of that
alone.
is film cost
yeah,
for the
right?
film and the process, and and like the processing and everything, and like
Yeah,
the development.
but-
Like forget about it.
But it is cool because it's a film. It's like a film school project too, because it's like all those every extra they got is from like the film academy. They
Nice.
they all volunteered,
That makes
and so
sense.
and then it grossed $2 million. So it's like
Oh, good.
that's like it's one of those like
When
I think that's kind of like negligible to what they became now with Monty Python. It's like they're a household name when it comes to that stuff.
honestly, because the 2 million is whatever when you think of how iconic this movie is. Like this movie is ingrained in our culture. Not only is just like, I don't know, a funny movie, but I guess a medieval film too. You know what I mean?
Kind of. I think it's comedy first.
Yeah.
Obviously.
No,
but
it's
and then-
obviously
and then-
the greatest tale of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table.
And then Spamalot, apparently, Spamalot is like it's a play on this. It's like, literally like a stage play.
Yeah.
And it like I don't know what it I've never seen it or really even know much about it, but I was reading a little bit about it before this. And it's like apparently a lot of the actors, it's more flushed out. It's actually more of a narrative and not quite as like not quite as absurd 100% of the time. Or like it it doesn't have as many jokes, second by second, but it has more characters.
God, that
actually doing things.
Camelot bit was pretty good too. Where they're like,
I know
it's got the dance number, and then he's like, on second thought, let's not go to Camelot. It's a very silly place.
Yeah, it's a silly place. But it's when they cut to the guy hanging in chains and he's clapping.
Yeah.
That is a South Park bit.
Dude, that is a
guarantee
South
you-
Park bit.
No,
yeah.
like legitimately, that is like a legit South Park bit where somebody's in chains clapping to like a song.
Yeah.
Like I swear to God, it's in Bigger, Longer, Uncut.
Oh,
Like,
I'm pretty sure when they're
I'm
in
pretty
hell.
sure it's when
they're in hell and
that's-
Satan singing, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm like 99% sure.
Oh,
so
yeah.
anyway,
Anyway.
fact check us out there.
No, I guarantee it. No need to fact check. I'm your fact check right here, baby.
We need to watch Bigger, Longer sometime.
I actually would
seen
love to, and it's if we ever do musicals, I'm making sure that one gets on there because
Yeah,
It
it'll
is.
probably win.
it is, and it's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's Travis's voicemail, and then we're done because I don't got anything else to say about this movie.
Let's wrap it up. Come on, Travis,
Hey guys,
give us what you
I
got.
have a feeling that you both like this movie a lot more than I did. On Letterboxd, it averages a 4.1, which is very high for a comedy.
Holy shit,
It
yeah.
just wasn't my cup of tea, but I'm glad I finally got to watch it. The scene that I did think that was funny was when, before the prince is to be married, the king is looking out the window and says, "One day, lad, this will all be yours." And the prince replies, "What, the curtains?" Then how the king later stops the prince from breaking into song. That was pretty funny. Well, my question today is, what did you two think of the last part of the opening credits? It seemed like it was intentionally trying to cause a seizure. I was watching in a dark room and had to look away. What were your guys' reactions? Thanks.
Thanks, Travis.
Thanks, man. No, we didn't even mention the like credit
credit.
bit. It legitimately like this movie is like jokes and jokes and jokes.
It never
and jokes.
ends. I don't remember the credit bit, but yeah, I was from the first time I watched it. But yeah, man, it's It's just like the guy is replaced like 4 times, and then it just ends with like, then we want it flashy and spend all the money. Like,
Yeah, right. And like apparently, I read that when it played in Cannes Film Festival, that when they cut to the psychedelic bit, the projector cut out, and there was a bomb threat that happened in the theater.
What?
So everyone had to get evacuated, and it was like everyone thought it was part of the movie. They thought like that the whole
does
bit,
seem like
bomb
it would
threat,
be,
and
yeah.
everything was part of the film, and so like it got like a standing ovation. Like people were fucking floored. They thought it was so funny, and I agree.
Yeah, that's
after,
good.
After like the initial shock of like getting exploded in a movie theater,
Yeah.
I would be like, holy shit, this is like 4th level. Like it really would have been like meta. Like if like there was like they cut and it was like a bomb threat
Terry
in the middle
Gilliam
of the movie.
did call in a bomb threat. You know?
Yeah, right. But
That's funny.
I don't know, man. That was another fun fact that I thought everyone should know. Travis, you gotta watch this, dude. I'm actually. You gotta tell me, dude. T-Dog, you've never seen this movie? Like that's wild to me because it's like this totally feels like a movie you would have seen at some point. Like,
honestly feels, even though this came out in the 70s, this feels more popular with Gen Xers because you know who the first person I think of when I think of this movie is my uncle. My uncle fucking loves this movie. And he also loved, I talked about him briefly when we did our Dazed and Confused episode.
Yeah, right.
That it's like for some reason, like I don't know what it is, but it's just like he quoted this movie all the time. But it just goes to show you, and that's 100% because I guarantee you so much more of the popularity of this movie came when it came out on VHS. You know what I mean? Which is obviously late 80s, early 90s. When that happened, and it probably got a whole fucking huge resurgence in like cult following as it is, you know, and became even more popular even so because it's like that's how like we know from, you know what I mean, like you're saying, like from like your dad and stuff. It's like you know what I mean, it's like I don't know. It is weird that Travis that you haven't seen this until now. Travis is kind of weird, but it makes sense that like I can get that it doesn't land for you, but you like that the curtains joke. The whole movie is that like there's full. Yeah. It's just all those jokes,
right? And I think this is a movie that like it's like yes, every movie ever could probably benefit from a rewatch, but this movie is like it's like so. I mean, dude, every 10 seconds there's a joke. It's so compounded that like you're guaranteed to find another joke that you like. You know what I mean? Like it's,
You know another. Speaking of the credits joke, you know another joke I saw. That I never ever noticed is when they're flipping through the book and the person gets attacked and then it's replaced by the monkey hand.
Gorilla hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such like it's so like it's kind of like that's what I appreciate.
That's the absurdist comedy I show up for. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Like no explanation. That's what's great. It makes it and it works. So
yeah. Well, I get a lot of people will be like, it's random, and I don't like that, and I think that's why my wife wouldn't like this, but.
Right, and because it is, yeah.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it definitely is.
As high as I praise this, I'll probably just give it like a 2.5 on Letterboxd because like as a movie, I don't really like.
See, I'm glad
that it exists, but
I gave it 4, just because it's not a 4-star movie, but I had a 4-star time with it, man. Like
I guess that's it.
I'm definitely gonna watch it again one day. I'll probably watch it when my kids get a little bit older and can appreciate it a little bit more. Like, I'll probably just get super stoned on a weekend, a Sunday morning around the house and just fucking pop it on with the kids. You know,
my youth pastor and I will watch it in bed in the morning. That's what, that's how I'm going to watch
I'll get
it
some of
time.
my old Mormon friends and be like, hey.
Yeah. All right.
I'm done.
It was silly.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Had a silly time, so
it's fun, and I got some laughs out of it. And
okay, shut up! I'm ready to get
sometimes
scared,
that's all you need,
dude. I want. Oh my god, the buckets of blood this year, guys!
So
you have no
ready.
idea
I'm so
what's
ready
coming.
for the blood.
You have no idea what's coming. Buckets of blood this year.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It is actually really. There's a lot more gory this year than I think we've ever had. So
you know what? I didn't even really think about it until you said that. The other day to me.
I'm hella excited.
Yeah, and so I'm looking forward to it. So go, obviously. So that was Monty Python. Go fucking watch it. If you go check it out now, that's in the rear view.
Right. Yeah. If you liked that, go listen to that podcast, Monty Python, because we're talking horror movies.
We're talking horror movies now. This next month, we're doing all horror. I mean, if you've been around since last year, every year we do 31 horror movies. We watch one every day. We do, the pod for one of them throughout the week just to kind of keep up consistency. And then we're going to do a big one start in November to kind of do a wrap up of all the other movies that we watched. And we look forward to this all year.
All year.
We're always like a little scared of it.
When I'm done, my body is like raw and I'm exhausted. But then it's like November 10th. I'm like, man, when's October coming again? I want the movies.
And it's the perfect, you binge all this horror and violence, and then you just come on down to November around here is Westerns. And so it's the perfect.
Saddle up.
Dude, I don't know why Novembers have always been Westerns, but they've always.
We already established this, dude. It's Pilgrims. Thanksgiving.
Well,
that's why.
I know, but
even though we don't really care about that,
even when we were. Well, I mean,
we're not trying to be rootin' tootin' Americans.
Back when I was 19, we would try to do themed months just for fun, and November was always Western. You know what I mean? So
I think just Thanksgiving. I don't know. That's my only. That's like what I'm saying. That like rawhide hats. Like that's got to be. That's what That's what they were eating. And,
yeehaw. So,
yeah.
I'm excited
But
for
horror,
all the
baby.
blood. We got a lot.
All right.
I'm already been watching horror movies.
Okay,
I'm gonna watch a horror movie right now.
Get ready. Get ready for October. Okay, we just
go to the Reddit.
Go home.
Yeah, go to the
go
to the Reddit. Go to the website or whatever. I'll have the list of all the movies we're watching. The calendar, so you can go and see what we're watching. And we don't expect you to watch all 31 movies with us.
I do.
That would be cool. I mean, it'd be cool, but. Watch what you can, watch what you want to see, get on it, vote on the polls, and see which podcast we do. But yeah, I hope it's it's always a good time. So I'm excited. You're excited. Okay. Everyone watching.
I'm excited, you guys.
I'm gonna spill blood all over my keyboard right now.
I know. Yeah. Start watching them now so you can get ahead of yourself.
We probably have to. Yeah.
I know.
We should. All right. Goodbye.
Yeah. Good night.